All we need is welcome. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today for the very exciting 34th induction ceremony of the Maine Women's Hall of Fame. My name is Lynn Susie, and I am a trustee of the BPW Maine Futurama Foundation. Thank you for coming here to the Farber Forum, Jewett Hall, University of Maine at Augusta on this beautiful Maine day as winter transitions into spring. Thank you also for your contributions, which support our 6 scholarships that we give every year. A note of housekeeping, someone has dropped a beautiful sapphire bracelet. It's being held at the registration table. Thanks to Mallory Worthen-Redlevsky, our harpist today, for the beautiful music she provided as we gathered for this program. We are joined today by several women who have already been inducted into the Maine Women's Hall of Fame. I ask each to stand now as I call your name and be recognized, and I ask the audience to hold applause until all are standing so everyone's name can be heard. Constance Adler, Sharon Barker, Lynn Mickle Brown, Mary Cathcart, Darylyn Cody, Laura Fortman, and Betty Jane Meter. Have I missed anyone? Thank you very much, and thank you for your inspiration. After the program, we ask that all previous inductees remain for a few minutes for a group photo. BPW Maine Futurama Foundation co-sponsors this event and several other trustees are present. Would you stand and be recognized? President Myra Shalhoub, Office Manager Marilyn Ladd, Secretary Rhonda Crossan, Rebecca Long, Linda Huff. Thank you for the work you do for our foundation. For many years, the University of Maine at Augusta has been a co-sponsor of the Maine Women's Hall of Fame and the Futurama trustees are grateful for their partnership. In addition to this event, UMA has generously provided the site for the display of the photographs and citations for each inductee. They are at the Bennett D. Katz Library, directly across the parking lot from here. The library is open Monday through Friday. I urge everyone here to make or find an opportunity to visit the display at the library and immerse yourself in the inspiration these women provide. I am now pleased to present Jennifer Davis, Dean of Students at the University of Maine at Augusta, to provide greetings as a co-sponsor of the event.
Good afternoon. My name is Jennifer Davis, Dean of Students at the University of Maine at Augusta. On behalf of UMA, please let me say thank you for being here today. It is my pleasure to welcome you to the Maine Women's Hall of Fame induction ceremony. It's also wonderful to see such a large group. UMA is honored to be a co-sponsor of this annual event with the BPW Futurama Foundation and to host it on our campus. We are also very proud to serve as the home of the Maine Women's Hall of Fame, which is housed in the Bennett Katz Library here on our campus, just across the campus green. It's fitting for UMA to partner with an organization that is dedicated to recognizing women whose contributions have positively impacted the people of Maine and beyond. Given that 70% of our enrolled students are women, UMA plays an important role in transforming the lives of women and their families, providing opportunities for stable, independent, and fulfilling futures. UMA is proud of its learner-centered legacy that strives to make education accessible to all. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank the Futurama Foundation for its generosity in providing the annual UMA Business and Professional Women's Scholarship, which is awarded annually to a female-identifying single parent enrolled at UMA. This gift will help allow an individual to continue her education, thus transforming her own life and the lives of her children. Our congratulations to this year's honoree, Dr. Sandra Caron, for your achievements, leadership, and contributions that serve as a model for women throughout Maine and across the globe. Dr. Caron, Professor of Family Relations and Human Sexuality at the University of Maine, therapist and author, is respected nationally and internationally for her creative teaching and groundbreaking research in sexuality education. Her contributions have touched countless lives and contributed to inclusivity in our communities and beyond. As a therapist myself, I offer my sincere appreciation for your dedicated work, and it is with great pleasure that I join with others today in honoring your legacy. Again, it is my pleasure to welcome you all to UMA. Thank you, and please enjoy the program.
Thank you, Jennifer. Now I would like to introduce Myra Shalou to provide greetings from the BPW Maine Futurama Foundation. As I previously mentioned, Myra is the president of our foundation.
Welcome guests to the 34th induction ceremony for the Women's Hall of Fame. BPW Maine Futurama Foundation would like to congratulate Dr. Sandra Caron into the Maine Women's Hall of Fame. It is very deserved. Thank you.
Thank you, Myra. It is now my pleasure to present Maine's governor and a 2019 inductee into the Maine Women's Hall of Fame, Janet Mills.
Hello, this is Donna Janet Mills. I'm sorry for not being able to today, but I want to personally congratulate Dr. Sandra Caron on this award. You know, for more than 2 decades now, many business and professional women, the Future Honor Foundation, and the University of Maine have paid tribute to the work of some of Maine's accomplished women. From Margaret Lee Smith, one of my personal heroes, and the Maine Women's Hall of Fame, first inductee in 1990, the Maine astronaut Jessica Meyer, who was inducted last year. The Hall of Fame now includes many women who left an indelible mark on society through their contributions to education, economics, sports, religion, conservation, politics, reproductive freedom, among many other things. I was deeply humbled to be inducted to the Maine Women's Hall of Fame 2019. While I am the first governor of Maine to receive such an honor, I'm confident that someday I will be remembered not just as the first, but as the first of many. Today, the Women's Hall of Fame adds a new honoree to the rolls, Dr. Sandra L. Caron. Since joining the faculty of her alma mater, the University of Maine, in 1988, Dr. Caron has earned respect across Maine, across the nation, and across the world for her work. The dedication to the study and teaching of sexual and reproductive health has earned her recognition from the Maine Wadsworth Women's Health Center, from the University of Maine, the Maine Family Planning, and now from the Maine Women's Hall of Fame. When Dr. Caron was honored with the 2019 University of Maine Commencement as Distinguished Maine Professor, she told graduates, quote, "The value of our lives doesn't exist. The value of our lives doesn't come from our degrees, the money we earn, or the size of our house. It comes from using the influence we have for good and lifting others up so that they can do the same." End quote. Thank you for that inspirational phrase, Dr. Caron. And during her tenure at the University of Maine, Dr. Caron worked every day to lift up others, teaching more than 25,000 students very popular classes, and serving as a resource in many others, as a counselor, as an accomplished author, an academic, a columnist, and a radio host. Dr. Caron, like the women honored in the Hall of Fame before you, you have made a lasting mark on our state, on our nation, and on the world. I congratulate you on this award. Welcome to the Maine Women's Hall of Fame.
Thank you, Governor Mills, for electronically joining us today. Now we would like to share greetings from Maine Senator Angus King.
Maine Women's Hall of Fame, Sandra Caron, the two were made for each other. You have made one of the highest honors actually, so I want to congratulate those who made the selection, because Sandra Caron has had such an important influence on our students, on the University of Augusta, and on the state of Maine. She has been a beloved professor, author, thinker, and has done so much in her field and made such great contributions. So again, 2 levels of congratulations. First, to those who made a selection, good choice, but also especially with Professor Caron. Thanks for all you've done for your students over the years. This is a great honor. Bask in that glory that you are now a member of the Maine Women's Hall of Fame. Congratulations.
Thanks to Senator King for taking the time to honor Dr. Caron. We will now begin our formal induction program. The 2023 inductee into the Maine Women's Hall of Fame is Dr. Sandra Caron, Professor of Family Relations and Human Sexuality, University of Maine, renowned sexuality professor, therapist, and author. Simply reading her CV provides a glimpse into the breadth and depth of the topic she covers. She is a genius in her ability to market the most private and personal topics into public discourse through her variety of approaches. Dr. Caron was nominated by Sharon Barker herself, a 2009 inductee into the Maine Women's Hall of Fame. We have two individuals presenting for Dr. Caron. At this time, it is my pleasure to introduce Brenda Power, Ph.D., retired professor of literacy education and founder of Choice Literacy. Brenda.
Good afternoon. What a wonderful day. I first heard of Sandy Caron long before I met her. Over 3 decades ago, I was a young, green, and exhausted new professor of literacy education at the University of Maine. In so many of my one-on-one meetings with my students, I would ask about their favorite classes. And they would mention Sandy's family relations or human sexuality courses more than any other I heard. I quickly learned these large classes are much more than courses. They are a cultural phenomenon on campus, true milestones and touchstones of learning and growth for thousands of Maine alums. The students would describe how much they enjoyed learning from Sandy, and they would almost invariably say, "You should meet Dr. Caron. You two would be great friends. You're so much alike." It was odd and touching to realize I had a ready-made friend just waiting out there for me when I was feeling my way in a new job and new state. I finally introduced myself to Sandy, but first I want to be clear, I never talked about sex in my classes. Whatever resemblance they saw, I wasn't that. I did introduce myself to her at a faculty gathering with the words, "I feel like I already know you. Our students are matchmakers." And thus began a friendship that has only deepened over 32 years. I could rattle off Sandy's many achievements and well-deserved accolades, since today she adds more hardware to an already overcrowded shelf. But when we're gone, whatever certificates or medals or trophies we have received will only gather dust or end up in a landfill. Sandy's true legacy is her relationships with others, and how those have made lives better for so many people. I can speak best to one relationship, how her friendship has changed my life and the ripple effects of those changes on the girls and women around me. When I left the University of Maine 22 years ago, I asked my friends to respect my introverted nature and desire for a quiet exit with no party and especially no surprises. Gave them one job, hate surprises. Sandy, of course, proceeded to organize a surprise party for me. And since Sandy does know best, it turned out to be one of the most lovely evenings of my life. Guests met at a private room in a local restaurant, and I was stunned to enter the room and find 20 of my favorite colleagues and students there. They'd been instructed to bring a book as a gift, which represented their relationship with me. And throughout the evening, they stood up one by one to share their books and why they selected them. When it was Sandy's turn, she stood up and said, "Brenda and I get together for 2-hour lunches at least once or twice a month. And in those 2 hours, we never talk about books and we never talk about sex." At that point, everyone in the room asked, "What else is there to talk about?" And Sandy replied, "Politics." So it's perfectly appropriate she's being inducted in the state capitol, and our hero, Governor Janet Mills, is part of the ceremony because we've burned off her ears over the last 6 years. But beyond politics, most of our talk is about the delights and challenges of raising daughters. My daughter was born early in our friendship, and Sandy's daughter, Joy, came 8 years after that. We share our heartache when one of our daughters struggles and our elation when things go well. I remember a lunch many years ago when I told Sandy my then teenage daughter was in a happy, steady relationship with a boy. Sandy paused with that trademark tilt of her head that signals, "Now I'm going to tell you what to do. And you know I'm right, so just do it." So she then said, "You have purchased Plan B and given it to your daughter, right?" I'm old, no, not yet. I'm thinking about it. How's your chicken salad? Now, if you know Sandy at all, you know she is relentless. So I endured that same question a second and third and maybe 14th time during subsequent lunches. And remember, this was in the days when you couldn't get Plan B without pleading your case to a pharmacist. So finally I trudged home, slathered on some makeup, fluffed up my hair in a feeble attempt to trick the pharmacist that I was still fertile-ish, 5 years post-menopause. And I bought that damn Plan B and gave it to my daughter. Now, it was the right thing to do, and I'm glad I did it. In the end, the grinding, slow machinery of positive change only moves forward because of people like Sandy, who in every conversation in public and private settings, no matter how awkward it is at times, have the tenacity to say, we are responsible to make the world a better place for our daughters, for everyone's daughters. So let's talk about the hard things. Sandy and I had already had plenty of experience talking about the tough stuff. Years earlier, when my daughter was a preteen, I had a horrible hunch. One of her classmates was being abused by her mother's live-in boyfriend. That week, the lunch I had with Sandy had no lighthearted talk about politics or juicy campus gossip. I shared my concerns with Sandy, and she spent 2 hours carefully instructing me on how to work within the system to try and get help for that girl without making any move that might blow up and worsen the situation. I felt in the days that followed like Sandy was holding my hand, guiding me with an alchemy of the most tender care and confidence from years of navigating landmines across similar treacherous terrain. I did exactly what Sandy told me to do. And 2 weeks later, that girl found the courage to share her secrets with a teacher. She was rescued from what turned out to be almost unimaginable abuse. In the face of such darkness and evil, it's a testament to all of us that the situation was flooded with light. There was the skill of the teacher who cultivated a friendship that allowed the secret to be revealed, and then immediately offered her home as shelter till a longer-term arrangement could be made. There was the principal and police force who didn't hesitate to immediately lock down the school. There was the trained state personnel who counseled and supported that frightened child. It took a village of concerned, committed, and fearless people to save that girl, who in the years since was adopted by her foster parents, attended college, and today is a happy adult in a committed relationship. I feel like I am in the heart of that village among you all today. But we only work together as a community for good when we have those few and essential wise elders who clear a path forward for us. They are never afraid to launch the most difficult conversations, to tackle the thorniest problems. They combine their accumulated in all their complexity and the bureaucracies that thwart them. Sandy is that person in my life and in the lives of so many others. If I had a time machine and could go back 30 years to sit again in my university office in the waning afternoon light with one of my students, I know how I'd respond when she said, "You should meet Sandy Caron. You two would be friends. You're so much alike." I'd say, I only wish I could someday be like Sandy Caron, with her inexhaustible knowledge, heart, and commitment to making the world a better place. I am a better person for knowing Sandy, and I treasure our friendship. She has truly earned her place in the Maine Women's Hall of Fame. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Power, for that warm introduction to Dr. Caron. I would now like to introduce Brian Welch, MS LSW, to Dr. Caron. He is a colleague, collaborator, and friend.
I have prepared remarks, excuse me, I'm sorry, we can fix that. I have prepared remarks because Sandy trained me well. And I'm just going to emphasize that one of the other things I learned from Sandy is you always bring a group because then nobody can blame you. So they're listed here if you'd like to know who else contributed to this. My co-conspirators, collaborators, as you choose. They're a good group and I thank all of you. Good afternoon, everyone. We all have our individual stories to tell. Today, we add to Sandy's story. I'm Brian Welsh, and I've been given the honor and privilege of speaking here today as part of this ceremony to honor Dr. Sandra L. Caron, Ph.D., during this, her induction into the Maine Women's Hall of Fame. Thank you all for being here in person to recognize Dr. Caron as we add her name to this list of exceptional Maine women who have each and every one made a profound positive difference in the lives of Maine women, or more accurately, in all our lives, regardless of where we fall on the gender spectrum. In our preparations for this ceremony, honoring Dr. Caron's inclusion in this august group, my colleagues and I were able to list out volumes of accomplishments and contributions. However, rather than focusing on Dr. Caron's accomplishments, in the short time available, we decided we would instead do our best to thank her for some of what she has done for us as individuals, for all of us collectively, and for women, most of all, in Maine, across the United States, and without hyperbole, around the world. Google gives us the power to look and see. Even though we were focusing today on thanking Sandy, we encourage you to Google her and take a good look at her accomplishments. A long list of great stuff pops up. We could spend our time discussing and sharing those accomplishments with you, but you're capable people, so dig in, look for yourselves. Sandy has done so much, contributed so much, and will do so much more. So today we'll say thank you as best we can for what she's done so far. As people have mentioned, Sandy's current title is Professor of Family Relations and Human Sexuality at UMaine. Could they make that longer? She is, in our modern lexicon, an educator, but maybe the older terminology is better here. Sandy is a teacher. In the truest sense of the term, Sandy is a teacher. Teaching is a hard craft, which requires so many things: subject matter knowledge, skills to develop curricula, knowing how to formulate scope and sequence, along with the ability to design assessments that actually measure learning. But all of us who work in education know that being a teacher requires more: compassion, understanding, the ability to listen and hear, and most of all, willingness to put the well-being and needs of students first. Sandy has always put the well-being of her thousands of students first. Thank you, Sandy. Thank you, Sandy, for putting us first. We've been told that one of the questions asked of women nominated to the Maine Women's Hall of Fame is, what have you done for women? Seems logical, right? Sandy's answer, should she be asked this question, would go on for days. Some examples of what she might share in her answer can be found on our UMaine intro page. Like our Google search, we'll find enough awards, accomplishments, and sample publications listed there to keep us in reading material all the way through a Maine winner. But here today, we want to mention one specific way Sandy has helped women. One of my colleagues made sure we kept space here to include a mention of Sandy's efforts to educate men. Sandy, to quote my colleague, was the guide to understanding the world around us in a way we, men, never had to consider. Most men never consider how much lighting there is on their walk through the parking lot, but measures women take daily to feel safe in our communities. Sandy has changed the way many of us men think. She made us men aware that for women, the world can be a frightening place to the very real dangers women face in our communities as a matter of course. In addition to infusing awareness, Sandy also motivated many of us men to actively work on ourselves, and to bring heightened awareness of the dangers women face to other men, while also reducing acceptance of violence towards women among men. In doing so, she has made the world safer for women and a better place for all of us, women and men. Thank you, Sandy, for using some of your valuable time to educate us men so we can be better allies. A common thread running through our conversation as our group wrote and edited these remarks was our collective and individual certainty that Sandy has changed our lives for the better. We would not be the people we are without Sandy's support, guidance, mentorship, friendship, and motivation. Extrapolating from our small group to the thousands of students who are shared experience with the dynamic force that is Sandy Caron, her contribution to the lives of women specifically and humans in general is immeasurable. Thank you, Sandy, for helping us be the best we can be. It sometimes feels like we live in a me world surrounded by inwardly focused individuals intent on themselves and their screens. It takes a jolt, a catalyst, to get us to look up and come together to address need and affect change. None of us alone can bring about macro level changes needed to move us toward a kinder, gentler, better world. Collectively, however, in groups with focused purpose, there is power. Sandy is that catalyst that makes organizations come into being and drive forward with power to outcomes that benefit women, that benefit all of us. For a short list of these organizations, agencies, and groups, we can start on campus with Athletes for Sexual Responsibility, Male Athletes Against Violence, the Greek Peer Educator Program, and SHARE, Sexual Health and Reproductive Education. Off campus, in our community, Sandy has been involved with Partners for Peace, Rape Response Services, Courage Lives, Maine Family Planning, and Mabel Wadsworth Center. Please know these are just examples, not an exhaustive or comprehensive list of Sandy's involvements. There are many, many more we could list. These groups serve our community and make our community safer and better. Sandy has been instrumental in bringing these groups forward across decades, often by serving as a founding mother to these and other groups, agencies, and organizations. Thank you, Sandy, for helping these organizations, agencies, and groups exist and succeed. Human sexuality, we knew we'd get there, right? Human sexuality is one of those things we all know a lot about, except we don't. Sexuality education is, for the most part, abysmal in the United States. We live in a land where ignorance is mistaken for innocence, where high STI and unplanned pregnancy rates are seen as a normal part of life to be accepted and explained away by blaming those who suffer because of a lack of education, where heteronormative cultural assumptions and expectations not only still exist, but are the norm. For her entire career, Sandy has worked to bring accurate, scientifically based sexuality education to students, and through them, their friends, families, and communities. CHF 351, Human Sexuality, is the gold standard which has given generations of UMaine students the knowledge to not only make healthy choices, but to understand how integral a part of us our sexuality really is. Sandy has taught us that normal is how we, not our society, define ourselves, that we should be free to love who we love and label ourselves as we are, not as how others see us. Thank you, Sandy, for helping us understand our norm. Many of us make a habit of reaching out to Sandy for help when we find ourselves searching for answers. People with Sandy's expertise are hard to find. Harder still to find are experts who answer texts, emails, and phone calls from former students and other members of our community who need in-depth expertise. Thanks to Sandy, 2 different sexuality programs designed for 2 different populations were implemented in 2 different rural schools located in 2 of the most conservative areas of our state. These programs require that boys beginning to become men take responsibility for their interactions physically and emotionally, and taught that girls, soon to be women, have autonomy, agency, and are deserving of respect. They also taught that our world is not binary and some of us aren't straight. Getting those programs developed and implemented took a lot of emails and phone calls. These are just 2 examples of the so many times for so many of us that Sandy has provided the science, knowledge, and practical understanding we needed to make good things fly. Thank you, Sandy, for picking up the phone. Okay, it's March, right? Okay. So, but Maine, for most of us, is a bucolic paradise. March will end, I promise. We camp in the shadow of Katahdin, ride through the neon kaleidoscope of fall, and watch the surf pound the rocks of Schoodic Point. We eat at amazing restaurants tucked away in the quiet far corners or in the exciting growing downtowns of Portland and Bangor. We've got it pretty good, most of us. Most of us are here today because we can be. We have, at least to the required extent, a level of privilege combined with individual agency that gets us a place at this table. We would be remiss, however, to not point out Sandy's awareness of and efforts to help those who are not asked to come in from the cold, who don't camp, but live outside, who search for food behind those restaurants we so enjoy. The people in our communities who rarely get a seat at the table. Sandy sees them. If someday at an event like this, you find yourself sharing cookies with an unhoused adolescent sex worker, it may well be because Sandy invited that person to the party, then worked with lots of us to figure out transportation, clothes, a shower, and all that stuff most of us have and don't think about too much. So a person of the often unseen could be at an event like this. Maybe that's happening today. We think Sandy would say it should happen every day. Thank you, Sandy, for seeing the unseen. We could go on, of course, but you get the idea. We all have a lot to thank Sandy for, and she certainly deserves to have her picture hung here today. But there are cookies to eat. There's a lot out there. We need to eat those. We have places to go, and the world must keep spinning around. But maybe because of Sandy and the other women whose photos hang here, the world will spin a little easier and be a better place. Thank you, Sandy, and congratulations.
Thank you, Brian, for your insight into our inductee. I am now pleased to welcome to the front of the stage 2023 inductee into the Maine Women's Hall of Fame, Dr. Sandra L. Caron. Dr. Caron, I have for you a certificate which I will read. The BPW Maine Futurama Foundation, the University of Maine at Augusta presents the 34th Annual Maine Women's Hall of Fame Award to Dr. Sandra L. Caron, Ph.D. Nominated by Sharon Barker, former director of the Women's Resource Center at UMO, co-founder of Mabel Wadsworth Women's Health Center, Bangor, 2009 Maine Women's Hall of Fame inductee. Presented March 18th, 2023 at the University of Maine at Augusta, and the certificate is signed by Dr. Joseph Zakis, interim president, University of Maine at Augusta, Myra Shalhoub, president, BPW Maine Futurama Foundation.
Thank you so much.
Here. I also have for you a pin designed especially for the inductees into the Maine Women's Hall of Fame, which I will pass to you in order not to risk stabbing you. I'll hold it. Podium is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I want to thank the BPW Maine Futurama Foundation that established the Maine Women's Hall of Fame in 1990 to honor the achievements of women in Maine. And for women like Myra Shalhoub, Lynn Susie, who are involved with all the behind the scenes work to make such an event possible. I want to acknowledge Maine Women's Hall of Fame inductee Sharon Barker, who nominated me, and for all of those who supported my nomination with their letters. And thank you to Brenda and Brian. I think you should have prepared me for that, those words, for your kind words. And I'm so lucky to have such a strong circle of support. My family, of course, my friends, my faith community, my colleagues, and of course, my students. Ever since I learned of my induction into the Maine Women's Hall of Fame, I reflected on the significance of this honor. I've looked up to many of these inductees, not just in my youth or while in college, but as an adult. All of these outstanding leaders in their fields showed that women can achieve, whether in science or politics, athletics, education, or the arts. They showed me what I could be capable of achieving. It's humbling to be among these prestigious women who've broken all those glass ceilings and pushed the boundaries to improve the lives of women, and frankly, everyone in Maine, and inspired generations of girls to believe in their value, to believe in themselves, and to have others believe in them as well. It's also significant that I'm being inducted at a time in my life when there is a woman governor, Janet Mills, a woman president of the University of Maine in Orono, Joanne Farini Mundy, and a woman dean of my College of Education and Human Development, Penny Bishop. We've come a long, long way. I want to take this opportunity to highlight two of the women who are in the Maine Women's Hall of Fame. Mabel Wadsworth, who was one of the first inductees to the Maine Women's Hall of Fame in 1990. I had the honor to know Mabel. She was an amazing woman and an important role model for so many of us here today who work in the field of sexual and reproductive health. She was a legend who helped found the Maine Family Planning Association and later supported the establishment and naming of the Mabel Wadsworth Women's Health Center in Bangor. The other is Sharon Barker, inducted in 2009. She's a women's rights activist. She's a women's health advocate and a feminist with a capital F. She was the founder of UMaine's Women's Resource Center and one of the founders of the Mabel Wadsworth Center as well. Sharon, I met her for the first time 45 years ago when she worked for Penquist family planning in Bangor, Maine. Back then, I was a UMaine college student majoring in health and family life education, sexuality education, who desperately wanted an internship at family planning. But there was a problem. Sharon was on maternity leave. Well, somehow I managed to find her home phone number and I called her to ask her if I might intern for family planning. You should all know that you hung up on me. It's true. But when I got the courage to call you back, you took my call. And she took that call from this pesky stranger, and I had the good fortune to intern under her leadership. Sharon took a chance on me and provided the guidance and grounding for my career in women's health and sexuality education. She also encouraged me to pursue my graduate degree in human sexuality. And it was her positive perspective on sexuality and her focus on the empowerment of women, which guided my own teaching, counseling, and research. I doubt Sharon realized at the time just how life-changing the guidance and really the opportunity she gave me would be. She was just doing what great mentors do, encouraging a student intern to follow her dreams and helping her find a path for them. As a sexuality educator, I've been on a mission to teach young people, especially women, that they can own their sexuality, to see it as theirs, not something someone else does to them. And that our sexuality should be accepted as part of our natural selves, as a gift, to be celebrated, not to be shrouded in mystery, shame, and guilt. To promote bodily autonomy, reproductive justice, and sexual equality. And when working with women who have experienced sexual trauma, to help them realize that we're all on a sexual journey. Like life, we never arrive. Some of us may have had traumatic experiences and the pain is still there, or we feel stuck. And it's important to know is that human beings grow and change and that nobody has to stay stuck. When I graduated from the University of Maine in 1979, I honestly didn't know how long there was going to be a need for people in my field. True. Abortion was legal. The pill was mainstream, or it had been around for a long time. Gay rights and women's rights were certainly becoming mainstream. There was certainly lots of work to do, but I thought it's just a matter of time before all the work is done. Who's going to need a sex educator once everyone gets it? I should have been an engineer like my brother. As we've seen over the years, some people have not gotten it. New bills continuing to be introduced and laws passed across the nation, placing restrictions on the woman's right to choose and limiting access to family planning services, limiting the rights for those who are sexually diverse in terms of orientation and gender identity, and wanting to ban books with sexual content. Much of this is based on fear rather than science. We're more interested in the morality than the reality of sex. Too many people think withholding information and services will lead to responsible behavior. And as other countries have shown so clearly, this is not true. This will not work. As I've learned over the years, we still have a long way to go in terms of valuing the field of sexual health and the importance of sexuality education. It's like we're sex saturated, but we're sex silent. There is still a lot of sexual myths and misunderstandings. I call them common bedtime fables. We need more public discussions of private parts. But what's kept me going is knowing that there's been positive changes. I've spent decades surveying thousands of college students, exploring changing beliefs, And I've been able to pore over a mountain of data and see real change, positive change in attitudes about women's sexuality and pleasure, marriage equality and openness about gender orientation, gender expression, sexual orientation, identity, etc. Things that didn't exist so much decades ago. What's also kept me going is a quote in the Talmud, which has served as a guide for me. If you can save one person, it's as though you saved the world. One person, one at a time. And that really has been my secret. That's been the key to leading a meaningful life, finding happiness, and having more than enough energy to teach thousands and thousands of college students over the years. My heart does really soar when former students contact me years later to tell me how important my class has been for them, both personally, whether it's in their love life or as parents, as well as professionally as they became childcare providers, social workers, teachers, counselors, nurses, doctors, lawyers, authors, even television producers. The days we live rush by, filled with mundane moments and routines. And it's easy to forget what power we have to change the lives of others and the influence those we admire have over us. What these people say to us one-on-one, how we observe them live their lives, can make all the difference in nurturing our own talents and passions and following our dreams. So many individuals here in this room have been part of the remarkable progress made in the areas of sexuality education and women's sexual and reproductive health over the past decades that continues today and will extend into tomorrow. I share this recognition with everyone who has worked alongside me over all these years to bring about positive change in Maine and beyond. And I want to thank you for this incredible honor. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Caron, for your work and for this expression of it. From the trustees, congratulations on your induction into the Maine Women's Hall of Fame. Your dedication to your students and to your academic field is impressive and far-reaching. As the Maine Women's Hall of Fame continues into its 35th year, there is no shortage of strong Maine women who should be inducted. Please consider the Maine women you know or read about or admire, and check our website in the fall to learn how to nominate them for inclusion. Thank you to all who have joined us today for this program and to those who have donated in honor of or in memory of family and friends. Your donations will augment our scholarships through the BPW Maine Futurama Foundation Scholarship Program. In May, the scholarship program will be awarding 6 scholarships in the amount of $2,000 each. These recipients will go on to provide financial security for themselves and their family and many benefits to the state of Maine. Scholarship applications and additional details are available at the Futurama Foundation website, bpwmainefoundation.org. Finally, thank you to UMA at Augusta for co-sponsoring today's event and the ongoing Maine Women's Hall of Fame, and to the hardworking employees at UMA. Again, congratulations, Dr. Caron. Yes. Here, and I think you had left.
Sorry
it.
about that.
Yeah, that's okay. Make sure everybody goes home with all their goods. No. You left.